Git.
Oh yeah, great, perfect.
Yeah, you probably know all of this stuff, but
I feel like I should, but I don't feel like I know it to a point where I'm comfortable with it. You know.
yeah, I mean, I'm certainly not a Git expert. Like, I don't know all the fancy, cool things you can do with Git, but I have like a working understanding of it.
Well, that's more than me, so I'm excited.
Like, I know enough to like do it at my day job.
I know enough to be dangerous.
Nice. I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I just got my computer set up yesterday to be able to I guess commit and to I guess what's the term, to upload it onto the
Code Push.
repository. Yeah.
Nice. Are
Yeah.
you a V School student? I don't know if I've seen you on Code Talk
This
before.
is my second week, and I just saw the what is it, the invitation, and I thought it might be helpful because I do need to
Oh,
understand
cool.
about
Yeah,
Git.
this will be really helpful, especially because like you're just starting out. Like you'll get some good insight and tips for how to like use Git to better like organize your projects as you go. So
Okay.
this will I think this will be really helpful for you. This is actually geared towards people more in your position.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So we'll start in like a couple minutes. Usually people kind of are a little late to these things. It's funny how human nature is, even when you don't even have to get in your car to go anywhere, we still are late to things. I'm late to my stand-up meeting all the time at work, and I don't have to go anywhere. Hello, welcome, Genesis. All right. Well, all right. We got a nice little crew here. More people will probably slip in as we go. So today's topic, of course, is Git, and my goal here is to kind of just give a rundown on some best practices, as well as going over some ways to better structure your commits, or to structure your like development process using Git. That's kind of the idea. Because while Git is a version control system, it's also a really great way to like organize the way that you develop. So like, you can use it to more effectively plan out like the milestones in your project. For example, like today I need to do my login system. Tomorrow I'm going to do my log out system. The next day after that's done, I want to then work on my profile page, stuff like that. So you can use Git to like organize the way that you go about developing. So even if it's a small project, there's little habits that you can develop early on that will just make you a more productive developer. So that's kind of the goal today. So does anybody just have any just general questions to start before we get into it? All right, I'll take that as a no. So what I'm gonna do, first of all, is the first half of this will be geared towards like personal projects where you're not really working with other people. And then we'll do, hopefully we'll have time to do a little more interactive thing where we'll all create a repository together. And I'm gonna show you guys kind of a good way to go about collaborating with other people. So that's what the second half will be. So first thing is, let me share my screen. Okay, can everyone see this all right? Okay, so when you're building your own project, now obviously you don't have to use Git. There's other version control systems, but Git is by far the most common and also, I would argue, the best one. And so when you're starting a project, hey, Emily, welcome.
Hello, hi.
So when you're starting a project, the first thing is you should create a Git repository from the beginning. Now you don't necessarily have to do it on GitHub. You can do everything locally. You could create a repository locally, and that's totally fine. Like there's no one telling you that you have to use GitHub or Bitbucket or any of these like cloud platforms for version control. Although it's nice to have, especially if you're in a boot camp, it's really great to have that public history of your Git commits and this profile. Like this basically is your resume. So it's it's a good idea to at least when you're starting to code, to start putting all of your repositories on your GitHub account, or Bitbucket, whatever you decide. I'm using GitHub because that's just what I'm used to. So now there are two ways to create a repository. You can do it locally and then push it to the remote platform, or you can kind of do the opposite where you create it remotely first using the platform and then you can clone it down. I prefer the latter method because it seems to be quicker, in my opinion. Like I don't know, it's just easier to me. So what I'm going to do is we're going to create a repository, and I'm going to kind of mimic how I would go about doing a real project. So first things first, let's create a repository. And again, this is if you're doing a personal project. So this is if you're planning on just doing this yourself. You're not going to invite other developers. You're not worried about collaborating with other people. You're not going to deal with pull requests, things like that. So this is a much more streamlined, easier process. Most of the work you're going to be doing locally, and you're simply going to be pushing up to the master branch when you're ready. Anyway, so let's do this. So code talk git demo. All right, here we go. I like to add a README and I like to add a git ignore. The license is if you were building like an NPM library or something, if you were like hoping that this project would be used by other developers, having a license isn't a bad idea. But we won't worry about that for now. That's probably a topic for a different day. So here we go. I'm choosing public. Private. If you wanted to make it private, you could do that as well. But all right, this looks good. What am I missing? Oh, right. Git ignore template. Okay, so there's a bunch of these. We're going to choose Node because we're web developers, or the assumption here is that we're web developers. So let's pick one that kind of works for Node. Here we go. So this will like ignore files like Node modules and things. But we'll take a look at this in a second for those of you who are maybe a little unfamiliar with git ignore. So let's create the repository. Beautiful, here we go. So this is the screen that you see. Now I'm assuming that all of you have use SSH to hook up your GitHub. If not, you can use HTTPS, but SSH is by far the recommended way to do it. If you're not sure what that means or how to do about that, feel free to DM me either in Slack or wherever. All right, let's copy this SSH URL here, and we're going to use this. We're going to use this guy to clone down our repository. So I'm going to go to VS Code. Or actually, I don't really have to go to VS Code, but I just need a terminal window. If I had GitHub Desktop, I could, of course, use that. But I prefer the command line for this kind of thing because it's simple. All right, so I'm going to go into my dev file, dev folder. Here we go. This is where I like to put stuff. Okay, cool. Open up my playground here. Don't save. Okay, I just need to open up a terminal. Here we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run git clone and then the repository. And then I'm going to tell it. So if I wanted to, I could feed it a file path for where to clone it down to. But I'm in the folder that I want to create the repository, so I'm just going to do this. And you'll notice it'll create a folder called code.gitdemo, which is the name of the repository that I gave it when I first created it. So we should see it. We should see it pop up here. Where is it? Git code.gitdemo. There it is, right there. Sweet. So let's go ahead and open it up. We'll open that folder that we just created. Playground code.gitdemo. Here we go. Okay, there it is. Awesome. Okay, now something that's cool about this is, so the reason why I like initializing Git repositories from GitHub first is that you can do this really cool. You can basically start with a git ignore template already built, and then you get a README as well. I don't know. It's just nice. It's just convenient, and the Git repository has already been initiated, and the remote repository has already been defined. So if I type in git remote -v, I'm going to see the URL of the remote repository that this is linked to. So I don't have to like set that up manually anymore. If I start this in Git and clone it down. Cool. Does anybody have any questions up to this point? All right. Okay, so what I want to kind of talk about now is how important it is to plan ahead. So there are some conventions that are not universal, but every company is different. But there are some conventions where as far as how you strategize your commits. Okay, so by default, there is this main branch. They used to call it the master branch, but they've since renamed it to main. This is the default branch. And a branch is just a particular set of commits over a period of time. And it's just under an umbrella of the name of the branch. And what's cool about Git is that you can make infinitely many branches. You can branch off other branches. You can create multiple branches. You can delete branches. You can combine branches using merging or rebasing. It's just a way of organizing a particular set of commits over time. It's really nice. So when you are creating a project, the first thing that you want to do is you want to really plan out your branching and your committing. And it's really helpful to use a set of conventional names. So, or I should say prefixes. Okay, so right now we're on the main branch. Okay, and if we look at the Git history using git log, we simply have the initial commit from when we created the repository remotely and we set it up with our git ignore and readme. Okay, so that's great. However, you never want to be editing the main branch directly. This is just a general rule. You don't want to do that, even if it's your own personal project. Once you start coding, once you're ready to start coding, you should always plan what your next branch is going to be. And it's okay to have multiple branches if you want, but you should always plan ahead what your branches are going to be. So in this case, I've just did my most basic setup, but suppose I want to create a website. Okay. I don't want to go ahead and creating files and just creating style sheets and just kind of coding without a plan. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be like, okay, I'm going to create a new branch, and that is going to be my next like milestone or my next like major feature or whatever. So there's a set of prefixes that I always recommend people use when they're working on a project. Okay. And there are three that I recommend using, and I use those at work. So if I'm creating a branch, which I'm about to do right now, there are at least three prefixes that I like to use. One is feature, / and then whatever the name of the feature is. Okay, so this lets me identify exactly what the goal is of my next set of commits. Okay, so in this case, I want to do my like initial file setup. Okay, so I'm going to call this branch setup, or we'll call it initial setup. Okay, this might be create my index file, create my JavaScript file, create my style sheet, get a very basic template running so that I can, start, building out my application from there. There's also other prefixes though that I recommend. So feature is probably going to be the most common, especially when you first start, because you're just kind of, building out new features as you go, like header, footer, etc. But another one I recommend is bug fix. So if there's a problem that you've found after you've merged a branch, then it's a good idea to create a new branch prefix with bug fix, followed by the name of the fix that you want to do, such as like, there's a problem with the responsiveness of the header, or there's a weird bug where an event listener is not triggering, or it could be anything. But bug fix is a good way to prefix that branch so that at a glance, you know exactly what that branch is intended for. There's another branch that I always recommend using, which is a release branch. So your main branch is always going to be the most stable version of your application. And then when you create releases, which is a release is just when it's like, hey, this is ready for production. I want this to be the thing that clients see when they go to my website or whatever. So your release branch is always going to be prefixed with a release, and I may touch on that a little later. But feature is usually going to be the most common prefix that you use. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and check out to a new branch, which I created using the git checkout command. And so now if I run the command git branch, we'll now see that my main exists, but I'm now on this feature initial setup branch. Okay, so this initial setup, I'm going to make a very, very simple little hello world app. So I'm just going to go ahead and do index.html. And we'll do our little starter guy, git demo. Beautiful. And we'll just put a little div here and we'll say hello world. Okay, and then let's go ahead and create a style sheet. Okay, we'll link this guy. And style.css, beautiful. Okay, easy. And then, you know, maybe a JavaScript file. So we'll call this main.js. And let's link this guy at the bottom. Okay. Beautiful. So we've just completed the very basic setup of our little app here, which is nice. Okay, cool. And if you're using VS Code, I highly recommend using this little version control icon thing because it's amazing. It lets you at a glance see what changes you've made to your files so far, and you can get a quick glance of what the differences are between the changes. In this case, obviously these are just new files. So that's why you see just this empty red line over here and over here. Cool. So a couple of vocabulary terms in Git. You'll notice over here that there's a U here, and it's green. U stands for untracked. An untracked change means that you've made some change to a file somewhere, but you haven't really told Git about it. So Git is not really aware, or it's not, you haven't made any commits or anything. So nothing has been set in stone as far as Git is concerned. That's what an untracked change means. If one of these files already existed, let's take README, for example. Suppose I make a change here. So remember, this file already existed from the previous commit, from the initial commit when we first created the repository. So here's my thing. I'm going to create a little header here. So about this app is for demonstration purposes. Okay, so I've just made a change to my README. Notice instead of a U, it's an M. This stands for modified. This means that there's some file that had been committed prior, but now there's been a saved modification to that file. So Git notices that, and that's what that M is for. If I were to delete this file, you would see a red D for delete. So that's what these letters mean. There's D, U, and M. I can't remember, and you'll see C, the letter C occasionally if there's a merge conflict. Okay, so we've got our file changes. We're happy with this. This is our we've kind of set up our application the way we want. So now it's time to commit. So when you are making changes in your code base, for those of you who are really new to Git, the first thing you want to do is, before you can commit these changes to the history, we actually have to tell Git, we have to prepare Git for what to expect. And this is called staging. And there's a couple ways to do this. There's this command called git add, which will stage your changes. And there's a couple different flags you can tell it. So you can say git add -A, which stands for every change that has been, every saved change that has occurred in this repository, stage them. It's like putting things on a pallet before shipping it out on a truck. That's what staging is. I could do git add period. So you can specify specific file paths of what things to change. So, or for what things to stage. So for example, if I wasn't quite ready to commit this file, for example, I could say, hey, git add only the style sheet, the README, and the index.html. You can be very choosy about what to stage. Although usually if you're planning your commits ahead of time, you're planning your branches, and you're not getting unfocused with what you're working on, -A is probably going to be fine. It just means stage all the changes that you've made, whether they're untracked or modified. Does that make sense? Does anybody have any questions about that?
So dash A is all saves, and that's different from dash period, whereas dash period is really just the main directory.
Yes, dash period is just wherever you happen to be at. So if I CD'd into a lower, let's say I have like a source folder in here, right? Because you know you can imagine in like a React app, you've got folders and subfolders and things. If you were to CD into like some subfolder and you do git add period, well, it's only going to add those untracked or modified changes starting from that point. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so people get dash A and period confused a lot. Dash A just means add everything in the repository that's been changed. So it doesn't matter where you're at in your file system, as long as you're like obviously in the repository somewhere, it's going to add everything. If you do a period or you do like a name of a file or a series of files like this will simply just stage those ones that you've specified. You can also use, what I love about this version controlled icon in or integration with VS Code, which is built into VS Code, is that you can just manually do it with the GUI. So like that right there, hitting that plus sign is the equivalent of saying git add dash A.
Yep.
So I tend to like that. I've become fond of doing things this way. So you'll notice my letters have changed. A stands for added. So it went from untracked to added. And we can also look at git status to now see, hey, there's several new files and there's a modified file. Okay, well, that makes sense. 3 have been added and 1's been modified. Okay, cool. And these have been staged to this branch. All right, so we're happy with what it is. So now it's time to write a commit message. We're actually ready to commit. Things are on the pallet. We've wrapped it in plastic, and we're ready to put it on the forklift and put it on the truck and you know, ship it out or whatever. So I will put a git message or a commit message using VS Code. You can either do it here or you can manually do it in the terminal. Again, I kind of prefer doing it this way because it's just, I don't know, it's just right here. It's easy, but they're the same. They're the equivalent.
Is there a shortcut for adding in, writing a commit message at the same time?
There is, I believe the command is, I believe it's just that. I could be wrong. I don't remember off the top of my head, but there's a flag you can do.
Okay.
I can't, I'm not confident that it's dash A, but there is a command. I just don't remember what it is, but it's something like that. I know it's a flag of some kind. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. And so, okay, so commit messages, now every company has their own convention, their own requirements for, you know, what a commit message should be. But if you're just doing a personal project, all I recommend is write a message that's very specific, but also very concise. So you don't need to explain every little thing you did. It can even be as simple as, you know, set up initial file structure. Okay, this seems fine for me. Now notice, I only have one commit here, but I could have done multiple ones, right? Like, suppose you can break up, just because I have one branch doesn't mean I only have to, doesn't mean that I only can commit once. I can commit as many times as I want on that branch. So as your branches get more, I guess, larger scale, you're going to want to break it up into multiple commits, right? Like as your problems get harder and as your features get maybe a little more complicated, you're going to want to break up your commits into like little smaller milestones. But the rule that I kind of generally follow is my commit messages should be short and concise, and I should never commit code that's broken. Don't ever commit code that completely breaks your application. Like if your app doesn't even run, like if you can't run like an npm start, or if like literally nothing shows up on the screen, like for example, I broke my own rule. Let's make sure that this actually runs, right? Okay, it works. So don't commit code that doesn't work, which is easier said than done. But if your code's not working, then you probably shouldn't be committing anything. You should, figure out what the problem is before you make a commit. That way, if you're navigating back through your history, you're never going to go to a point in your application where like it just like straight up doesn't work. It doesn't have to be done. It should just be stable. It should run. Cool. So here we are. We've staged it. I've created my commit message. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the check mark. It's the same thing as saying git commit-m and doing my little message here. Same thing. I'm going to hit check mark, and there we go. So this is now empty because we've committed. So now we haven't made any changes since the last commit, since we literally just committed. And now we can look at our history with the git log command and check it out. There's my commit right there. There's the identifying commit hash there. And this just tells us, hey, this was committed to the feature initial setup branch. So what's cool about this is that I can now go back and forth between my branches. If you have active changes, you will not be able to switch between branches. They do that for good reason, because Git doesn't want you to lose information. Because look what just happened. All of a sudden, I've just checked out to my main branch, and look, everything seemed to have disappeared. And this freaks coders out a lot because they think that, oh God, my project, I just deleted everything. It's like, no, you just checked out to a branch where those files didn't exist. If we go back to that branch, the feature initial setup branch, they magically appear. Hey, there they are. Awesome. Cool. All right. So we're happy with this. So now I'm ready to go on to other things. But first of all, we're going to go ahead and, put this into our main project. So I'm going to check back out to our main branch. So when you are happy with a branch, you feel like you've accomplished the milestone that your feature or bug fix or whatever it was meant to accomplish, we can now merge the branch. All right, so and the rules with merging are very simple. You have to go to the branch that you want the code to be brought into. Okay, so the main branch, when this is just your personal project, we want to merge our feature branch into the main branch. So that means we have to check out to the main branch, and then we're going to simply run the command git merge feature initial setup. And there we go. And if we now do a git log from the main branch, we're now going to see the same set of commits as from our feature branch. And check it out. There it is. There's all my code. I can now run this again, and there we go. It works. Beautiful. I don't need that other branch anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and delete it. So I'm going to say git branch -D feature. This is just it's always a good idea to just delete branches after you've merged them. Branches are a dime a dozen. You can always create a new branch. You can even create a branch that you've already deleted before. There's no limit to how many branches you can make. which is kind of cool because in other version control systems, it's not really that simple.
A quick question: if you were to merge main into your feature branch, would it then delete all those files?
That's a good question. So let's see what happens. Oh, I just deleted the branch, but let's for example do a let me think of the best way to do this. The short answer is no. No, it won't, because the thing is that when you branch off of a branch, so here we go. I'm gonna create a branch now called we'll call it header, because next thing I want to do is I want to build a header. So when you're branching off of another branch, basically you're inheriting the history of that branch. Okay, so notice I'm on my feature header branch, and if I do git log, I see the same history.
Yep.
Now I can start, let's say I go ahead and I start making some changes. Okay, so I'm going to create a header. I'm going to put a thing here and git demo 3/29/2021. Here's my sweet header. Okay, so I'm happy with this. Let's get to the point where we can merge, and we're gonna do the opposite. We're just gonna do an experiment, see what happens. So we're gonna go ahead and we're happy with this. I'm gonna stage this change, and I'm gonna say created header. We're gonna commit. Okay, cool. So if I check back out to my main, obviously that goes away. This is now a div, but we're gonna go back to our feature branch. There it is. Okay, let's see what happens if I were to, from the header branch, merge the main branch. So it would seem, that's a really good question, because it would seem that if you're merging a branch that looks different, or it was kind of a snapshot into the past, so to speak, it would seem that merging something would like override whatever you have now. But that's not really the right way to think about what a merge is. A merge is when it's kind of like a rectifying of the histories. It's so when you're merging something, in this case, our main branch, basically they're now going to essentially try to share their history. Well, I literally branched off of that branch. So they actually already share the same history. In fact, up until our set of commits that we just did, these branches were identical. But let's just see what happens. Already up to date. So that tells you that the history, there was no conflict, no problem with the other branch. And this one, their histories were already like streamlined together. Does that make sense?
So it's kind of a merging of histories, not necessarily a merging of current states only.
Yes, exactly. Because Git is all about changes over time. And so our original branch, while it looked like this, that was at this point in time. If we were to check out back to our feature branch, which if we now look at this, up until this commit, if we were to merging the main branch would simply be being like, would simply say, okay, well, let's, there's a word I'm looking for and it is escaping me. But basically, what?
Meld?
Meld.
No.
Just a joke.
Oh, this is gonna
I
bug me.
love you guys.
I always do this. There's always a word that I need, and I just can't find it. Anyways, basically these histories get resolved. Like they literally share the same exact history. And so there's nothing in the main branch that has a different history than this one. So they merge just fine.
Is that like a rebase? Is that what?
No, a rebase is different.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
if you were to branch off of main and create a second branch and then committed something, then your branches would be out of sync, or your main might have a history that isn't the same.
Yes. So I'm glad you pointed it out. I'm glad that you pointed that out.
I'm not trying to
because
take us off topic here, Ben.
No, that was
curious
the perfect segue because that's what we're talking about next. So yeah, no, I'm glad you asked that because basically your question leads to the next topic is what happens when those histories do not match up, right? So it is entirely possible that let's say I'm building out my header and there's still some things I may want to do with my header later, but I'm kind of bored of it, or there's something that I need to do differently, or I haven't decided what to do with the header yet. You know, I'm not ready to merge this to the main branch yet. Okay, for whatever reason, this is super common, you know. But the benefit of doing these branches is that branches allow you to kind of focus on different things at the same time while also keeping your code base very organized. So here's the perfect situation. I'm not super happy with my header yet. It's at a stable place, but I know that I'm going to be doing some more work on it, but I'm kind of bored of it. I'm ready to go do something else. So I'm going to go back to my main branch, which of course looks like this, and I'm going to create a footer. I, of course, could branch off of my header branch if I wanted to, which would keep my header code. But generally, it's not a bad idea to always branch from your main and just deal with conflicts if they arise. Unless you have a very specific reason for why you want to keep or why you want to branch from a feature branch. There's of course nothing wrong with doing that. I mean, I do it all the time. It just depends on what you're working on. Okay, so here we go. So we're going to go ahead and say git checkout -b feature footer. Cool. And if we do git branch, you're now going to see that I've got 2 feature branches and a main branch. Cool. This is perfect. This happens all the time. This is great. Everything is going well. So we're going to go ahead and create a footer. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is let's say that create a footer and I'll do my little I forget what there's like a fancy fun little thing you can do with the copyright symbol. I don't remember what it is. Anyways, all right, so here's my
it's like option C.
Yeah, on a PC it doesn't do that though. Oh well. There's probably like a different hotkey. But anyway, so let's make a little span here and we'll just say copyright 2021. Okay, here's my sweep footer. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do is we're happy with this, so we'll go here and we'll say created footer. Okay, cool. And now let's say that I'm ready to okay, I'm happy with this, cool. I don't need to come back to this. We're good. So what we'll do is check out back to the main branch, just like we had done before. Okay. And okay, cool. And don't worry about this message. This just means that my remote branch, which is living in GitHub, has not been updated with my latest set of commits, which is fine. Okay, cool. So let's merge our footer branch. We're happy with that. Okay, cool. We can now delete the footer branch. Okay, beautiful. So now all we're left with is the header and the main. Okay, so we now have a situation where our main branch has been updated since we had branched off from the header. So if we go back to the header, the footer is no longer there. This may or may not be a problem. Let's say that, if it's not a problem, then, whatever. But, it's possible that, you know what, I want to do some styling changes to the header, but I do think that they'll need to apply to the footer as well. Well, we have a few options. One, we could merge what we have to the main branch and then create a new branch. But that seems a little, I don't know, overkill. So what we can do then, if we need code from the main branch and it's been updated, then the best thing to do is to simply merge the main branch into this one. Okay, so this time it's different than the previous time, right? Previously, they shared the exact same history because we had literally branched off of the main branch and nothing had happened to the main since then. But now we've added the footer and we've merged it to main. So now there's a commit that exists on the main branch that does not exist on the header branch. So we're going to go ahead and merge the main into the header. And now we have a situation. This is called a merge conflict. And merge conflicts are common. They are not scary. It's just a way for Git to be very sure that you know what you want your history to look like. So in my footer branch, we still have this old div here, and we've got this footer. Okay, sweet. Well, now let's look at some of our options. Now VS Code provides this, which is really cool. Different editors have kind of different interfaces for this, but so we've got a couple options. One, we can accept the current change, which would basically mean ignore the merge in a sense, which is not really what we want to do, right? If I were to accept the current change, that would simply mean ignore all this. We could accept the incoming change, which would basically mean ignore this current change and leave this blue area. That's not exactly what we want either. We kind of actually want both in a way. So there's an option for that. There's also the possibility that, this one was kind of old. That was an artifact from earlier. What's cool is that we can actually simply just edit that out. And now we'll simply accept both changes. And look, there you are. There you have it.
Nice.
So what you'll notice is we're not done yet. If you look in here, there's this exclamation point here, and it's yelling at us because we're almost done with the merge. Okay, so a merge is a process. We've decided upon what we want our code to look like, but we haven't actually committed it yet. So anytime you resolve a merge conflict, you always got to remember to do the final step, which is to actually do the merge or do the commit. So you'll notice in the UI in VS Code that there's this section now called merge changes. So this is what shows up when you're in the middle of a merge. So I'm happy with this. So I'm going to go ahead and hit this plus sign. So this has now been staged, and this is no different than any other type of staging. This just says, "Hey Git, this is what I want to put on the palette to ship out." And then here we go. So when you're doing a merge, this message is automatic. which is kind of nice. You can overwrite that if you want, but I'm happy with this. This tells me exactly what we're doing. We merged the main into the header branch, and there we go. So there's our code. Notice though, this is relevant to the header branch. So if I check out back to the main, well, it still looks the way that it did before. Okay, so let's go ahead and check out back to the header. Okay, so, okay, we're happy with that. Okay, cool. So, let's go back to main, and now we're going to merge the header into the main branch. Okay, so there are actually two merges that happened. And look at that, now it's been updated. So now their histories have converged. They share the same history. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Sweet.
I had this issue earlier today. I was trying to help someone who he had like a commit history where he had deleted a folder.
Yeah.
But then he had a different branch that had that folder.
Yep.
And it was seemingly really difficult to get
because when you go back and try to do the merge, the folder doesn't appear again because the history of the branch you're in says, oh, well, this has been deleted. So we're gonna just not
get rid of it.
Yeah, that's one of the kind of unintuitive aspects. Cool. So this is kind of the general flow of when you're doing stuff on your own. So you just kind of can, just while I'm thinking about it, let's make sure to delete that branch. You just don't want to have tons of just hanging branches everywhere. Cool. All right. So that's awesome. So we've gotten to a place where we're happy. And notice that this entire time, I have not made a single edit to the code while on the main branch. And this is something you always want to remember to do. You never want to make changes to the main branch directly. It's just, you just don't want to do that. It can cause a lot of confusion down the road. So we're at a point where we're happy with our web application. You know, we've created our sweet website, we've deployed it, and I want to, you know, commit, or let's say we're about to deploy this, right? We want to use some automation service to deploy this from GitHub. So that means that we've got to push this up to GitHub. What's cool about, so something that I recommend using are what are called tags. And a tag is just a way of labeling a commit with like a human readable language. So like, if you look at the log, so our very last commit was this guy. Now that is not a very pretty label. You know, no one's going to remember that. So it can be useful to tag whatever the latest commit is. When you run git tag, it will just kind of give it a label. So we'll call this version 1.0.0. Okay, and then if we look at git tags, or wait, what is it? Git tag. This will tell us our tags. Sweet. Okay, there's 1.0. So what we're going to do is we're going to now go ahead and push up our code. And if you use the tags flag, that will push up the tags as well. Okay, sweet. So let's look at our GitHub and see what happened. Oh, that just pushed up the tags. Sorry, I didn't push up the actual. One thing to remember is, I don't know why, but you have to do git push and git push dash tags separately. There we go, to see the actual code changes. Okay, here we go. Here's my README, and here's this, and then there you go. There's my these are my tags. So this is just nice so that it's a lot easier to go back in time. And
So
so
a tag is just a way to give a specific commit a name that's
Yep.
easy to find.
yeah, it's
And
just like a
different from a
bookmark.
release. It's different from a release.
Yeah, it's different from like an official release, yeah. But they are used in releases. Like I think the GitHub automatically will like you have to have a tag in order to make a release, I think. Because basically when you create a release, you tell it what to point to.
Which tag? Okay.
Yeah, so in this case it'd be like 1.0.0. And then there it is. So yeah, and I won't so then yeah, you just click release and then it'll just show as from GitHub's point of view, it'll be like, oh, that's a release. Okay, cool. All right, so does that make sense to everybody? The tagging is just nice to be able to bookmark important milestones in the lifetime of your app. And you always want to tag your main branch. I can't really think of a reason why you would tag a feature branch. I mean, maybe, I don't know. I've always thought of tags as kind of a way of tagging like a particular version, right? So anytime you're doing like a major new like update to your main branch, like you usually tag it. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with the convention for how versions work, the convention is to use this 3-digit format or three number format separated by commas. The leftmost number is the major release number. So you only update that. You start at 1, obviously, but you only go to version 2, version 3, version 4, etc. if whatever new updates you have are like really, really major, they may not be backwards compatible with your previous version. They may break changes in your previous version. They may have like consequences for those using your library. They're meant to be used for major updates. The second guy here is for when you're doing minor updates. So these are things that are always going to be backwards compatible. So like if you were to update from 1.0 to 1.1, that's just like an enhancement, or maybe it includes a bug fix. But 1.1 to 1.2 to 1.3, these are like minor updates. This third one is for like, these are for patches. A patch is like a very, very minor change. Like usually it's, we use patches at work for when like a customer finds a problem that's like a serious problem that needs to be fixed like immediately, but it's not like we're making some major update to the platform. It's just that they found something that like, for whatever reason, the customer really needs this thing in production ASAP. We'll make a patch for it and we'll use the third number for it. So I don't know, in your like daily coding life, I don't know if you can kind of come up with your own reasons for whether to use or for, you know, what deems a proper update number, but you can figure that out on your own. But those are just kind of some conventions.
Who kind of tracks that? Is that like a tech lead or product manager?
Yeah. Whoever is the project owner is going to have like specific rules for how to do that. Like we have a very specific workflow for when we're updating versions and things. And every month we have a new release where we go from right now we happen to be on version 8, and every month we go 8.1 to 8.2 to 8.3. And then if there's like a major new update, then maybe the owner will be like, all right, guys, this release is going to be version 9.0. And it's like, all right, we're going to 9.0 now. So it just kind of depends on the project. Okay, cool. So that's how you do stuff like when you're doing it. This is great for when you're doing like a personal project. Okay. So all those principles, though, apply, of course, to when you're doing a collaborative project. So what I'm going to do, hopefully this, I don't want to take too long with this, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a repository, and anyone who wants to, if I could get like 2 or 3 volunteers to.
I already made a PR to your other repo.
Oh, you did? Which one?
The Git talk.
Oh, look at this. Okay. I like this. Nice. This is garbage. It's work. Cool. So we're gonna kind of walk through how this process works. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a new repository, and this is gonna be Git demo collab. Okay, we'll add a README. We'll add a git ignore, and we'll use node. Yes, forgot you can do that. All right, cool. Okay, so when you have a project that you're working with multiple people, you will always have a repository owner. So the owner is whoever created it, and then that person, if they want, they can exchange ownership with other people. But let me show you some things that makes your collaborating lives easier. So if you're in this case, I'm the project owner. I've just created this repository. I'm going to go to settings, and I'm going to go to manage access. So I'm going to invite some collaborators. So anyone want to volunteer to be a collaborator?
Add me, D Holland.
There you are. Beautiful.
I wish I had my computer with me. I would totally do it.
All good, all good. Anybody else?
I can collaborate in it as well. Let me just get my.
All right. Yeah, just give
I
me
think
your.
it's my first and last name for my GitHub. Let me double check.
Sorry, what's your last name? Share.
It's on the screen.
Is it pronounced Sharer?
It's Share. Yeah,
Oh, Share. Okay. It has a lot of R's in it.
it does.
Cool. All right. So I think two will be fine. This is fine. So, okay. So you guys will be getting an invite in your emails. So make sure to accept that once you see it. So while they're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and go to this branches section. And again, as the repository owner, these are just some things you want to do. So I want to add a branch protection rule. And this branch protection rule applies to whatever rule I say here. I want it to be the main branch. And this is just some basic stuff. You can, of course, add as many as you want. But I think a bare minimum is to always require pull request reviews before merging. And it's a good idea to, approve. So depending on how many people are on your team, it's good to have, you can set up however many you want. In this case, there's only 3 of us, so we'll just make sure that the other 2 approve it. And that's pretty much all we need there. So we'll go ahead and, just create that. Cool. Okay. And then one other. Cool, yeah, that's it. So this will prevent you from doing any sort of, it'll prevent people from just merging things willy-nilly. This kind of forces the team to approve everything that comes through. And then let's see here, was there anything else? That looks good. Yeah, okay, cool. I think that's everything. Okay, sweet. So this is ready for it's ready to be worked on. So I'm the code owner. I'm going to go ahead and clone this down and set up just an initial project.
I'm all good on my end.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to do my git clone again.
Yep. So are we cloning this as well ourselves?
Yep.
on our- Okay.
Yep, so go ahead and clone it down. And once I get this set up and I do my thing, I'm actually going to switch the sharing over to one of you, just so everyone else can kind of see what it looks like on the collaborator's end as opposed to the owner's end. But okay, so there we go. Let's open this guy up. And this was code, what is it called, this one again?
Git
demo.
demo dash collab.
That's right, there we go. Okay, cool, 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 here we go. So again, I'll just create my index.html. Sweet. Beautiful. I'm not gonna make any other files or anything. This will be just nice and simple. So, okay, so here's my, and oh, whoops, I broke one of my rules, which was to edit code while I'm on the main branch. Although, I don't know, technically this is, I'm just setting something up. So I'm the owner, I can do whatever I want. So I'm just gonna go ahead and add that. And I'm gonna say git commit. So initial setup. I'm gonna push that up. Okay, so if we go back to the GitHub, we're over here. There we go. So now what we're gonna do, so Danny, do you mind sharing your screen? I'm gonna stop sharing.
Yeah, if you want to enable.
And then let me allow you to share. There you go.
Okay. So
All right.
I've already cloned it down.
Cool. So will you run it? Just so we can all see like the files and stuff.
So pull it first.
Yeah, so you cloned it though, right? So you should
Yep.
be able to open up your VS Code in that folder.
So right here.
There we go. All right, that's what we wanted to see. Cool. All right, and then all right, so and then so Genesis, were you able to get to this point too?
No, so once I cloned it, I just did the command git clone and then I pasted that URL in. So how do I open the actual file?
Beautiful.
No.
So actually, you know what? Genesis, do you mind sharing your screen?
Sure.
All right.
So I did that command git clone.
Beautiful. Awesome.
Not
So
sure how to-
yeah, so what that does, because you are in your Genesis share
Oh, I just did my main
folder.
user one. I should have.
Yeah, you probably should have done it in dev, but it's okay. It's just a
Yeah.
folder. You can move it anywhere you want later.
Mhm.
So what you're going to want to do is click on open folder and then just, so what it did is it created a folder called Git Demo Collab in your, in that user folder.
Let's see. So to get to my user folder, is it under?
It's going to be
C
under
drive?
C drive and then users and then,
There we
yep.
go.
And then it's going to be one of those. Yeah, that guy. Cool. And then just hit select folder. Sweet. So there's the code. So go ahead and open a terminal window here. And if you type in git branch, you'll notice that you're on the main branch. Fantastic. Now I've already pushed up an update, so go ahead and do git pull. and that will update the repository. Okay, great, awesome. Okay, so we are now a team, and our job is to create an application together. And so the project manager has delegated each other our tasks. So our job is to now create our respective branches relevant to whatever we're doing. So, so Genesis, in your case, the project manager has decided that you are going to build the footer. So if you didn't want to build the footer, I'm so sorry. That's what you have to do now.
That's cool.
Yeah. So go ahead and using what you know about branching, create a feature branch for this footer feature.
Should I stop sharing?
No, keep sharing.
So let's check out. Was it dash B that?
Yep.
And then it was.
I think you spelled feature wrong. You've got an
Oh
extra
yeah,
U in
you're
there.
right.
It's all right.
Oh,
You can
yeah.
just create a new branch.
Okay, so should I delete that one? So
Do
I'm in this.
create the new branch first, and then delete the old one. That's what's nice about Git is branching is like really easy. There you go. And now you can just do git check or git branch dash D which or.
I can't see the very bottom of it because of there we go. So I'm sharing. Okay, so now to delete the old one, it was git
branch.
Dash.
And that's capital D. And then the name of the branch. There you go. And if you hit tab, usually it'll autocorrect, although you have a PC, sometimes it doesn't do that. Cool. All right, awesome. So you're now on your branch, and you know what your task is. So go ahead and create a footer. And Danny, your assignment from the big wigs upstairs, you need to create a header.
Okay.
And my job is to create a main content section. Beautiful.
Check out.
Beautiful. Looks good, Genesis. So if you're happy with this, go ahead and stage and commit your changes. And for those watching, obviously, while this is going on, Danny, of course, is branching off his and he's making his changes. I will make my change in a second for my own branch. And eventually what will happen is we'll have 3 separate pull requests happening. Cool, looks good. So now so this is kind of where things are a little different from when you're doing your personal project. So you are happy with your feature branch. So, but what we have to do now is we can't just do we can't just merge to the main branch and then push the main branch anymore. You're not allowed to do that. We're all collaborators now. We can't be pushing just to the main branch willy-nilly. We've got to use our pull request system. So the way to do this is, first of all, we need to create a remote branch. And the way to do that is the command git push. So go ahead and do git push in your terminal.
Let's see the bottom of it. Okay.
So git push, and then we have to do a couple things. So we're gonna flag it with the -u flag, which just means upstream. And then now it's going to be the name of the branch. So obviously it's the same as what this branch is. We're just essentially saying, hey, create a new branch remotely that has the same name as this one. So it's going to be feature/footer. Cool. Let's see. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot. There's one other thing I forgot to tell you. It's Git Push -U origin feature footer.
Oh.
My bad. I led you astray.
No, I don't see the bottom of that terminal. Okay. And this is adding that new remote branch to my own cloned version of the repository.
No,
right?
no, it's doing it to the
Using it to the main one, to
to the-
yours.
yeah. This
Oh.
that if you were forking, then it would be different. But because-
Okay.
Ben, do you want me to make a pull request to main?
Sure. And I'm gonna have her do it so everyone else can see. Beautiful. All right, awesome. So if you go to GitHub, Genesis, we should now see a new branch has been created.
We did this so that I can see. There we go. That's so much better. Oh no. Okay, we'll just leave it there. So if I go to GitHub, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Yeah. So go to GitHub and just go to that repository that we created.
Yeah. Another screen.
So, and again, for everyone looking, this is what you see for everyone. Okay, so there it is. There's that branch. So now you're going to go ahead and create a pull request. Creating the branch is not the same thing as creating a pull request. I think that's a point of confusion for a lot of people. Creating the branch is just creating the branch. Doing the pull request is saying, hey, incorporate my changes into the project. And so, yep. So this is where you can, depending on the team structure, there may be like specific things that they want you to write here. It just kind of depends. And one thing I wanted to point out is now, so perfect. So you've created the pull request and now notice all those red flags.
Mhm.
So this prevents you from just merging things without telling anyone. This is now saying, oh, all right, everyone's got to review this. So the easiest thing to do is if you scroll up a little bit in the top right, there should be a section called reviewers. Okay, so my name was already showing up there because I'm the owner. If you hit request, it'll send me an email to review it. Beautiful. And then if you search for Danny in the reviewers section, you can then send him a request. Awesome. And there you go. So there they are. Okay, so now basically before this can be merged, we both have to approve it. So I'm gonna just share my screen really quick and go to, we're back at the repository. Okay, notice on my end, there's now, well, everyone's gonna see this. There's now 2 pull requests that have been submitted. Okay, so we've got the header by Danny and we've got the footer. So we'll just go ahead and look at the footer. I'm happy with it. He's happy with it. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to approve it. I'm going to add my review. So, okay, nice. It's a sweet footer. Super awesome. I can make comments. I can request changes if I don't like it. I can approve it. I'm going to approve it. Still looks good. Coolest header ever. Cool. And I can leave more comments if I want to. And sweet. So the approvals there's enough approvals where now it can be made. Okay. I'm not going to merge it yet. Let's first of all go to the other one, the other pull request. And we're going to go to the, okay. So again, there's at least 2 required. So Genesis, you'll need to add your review and I will add mine. Okay, sweet. Looks good. Looks good. Your formatting.
Be nice to me. Be nice. And now you can commit to a pull request if it's in progress, right?
You can pull down a branch and make edits to the branch and push it back up. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So like, yeah, so notice here, like, okay, you've made your header, but in your case, your formatter, it looks like it added some extra spaces, which is fine. You know, well, that, in fact, I'm glad this happens because this forces us to kind of deal with this potential merge conflict, which it'll happen anyways because you've deleted this H1. But anyways, this is the whole purpose of this, is to show what happens when different people make different changes. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna review it. I'm gonna approve. This looks good. We'll go back to here. So it looks like it still needs your approval, Genesis.
Okay, so let me see. I thought I did it. So let me go back. So is that going to, should that be on my GitHub dashboard or is that in my email?
You'll probably get one in an email, but you don't need to go to your email to do it. You can
Okay.
just go to the pull request itself. If you want to share your screen
Oh,
again,
I see.
can
Okay,
guide you where to go.
sure. Well, let's see. So it would be, I just click on the actual pull request.
Yep. And it looks like he
So
hasn't
view changes there.
So not view changes. It looks like he didn't request you as a reviewer.
Oh.
Which you can still add your review. It's just
Yeah,
that.
because I did that. I clicked on that and then I just
There we
looked
go.
at it and
I
I submitted it.
added that.
There you go. Okay, cool. So see how now under review required, it shows you as one pending reviewer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now you can go
That's
ahead
right.
and sorry, that just takes you to your profile page. It's on the, you'll see it under the review required. It's like in red and it says one pending
Oh,
reviewer.
yeah.
Yep. So click on that guy and then, oh wait, where does it, I forget where you actually.
12 reviewers.
Scroll to the top. I think it actually just said, I think there's like a little thing at the top that tells you. No, where did it go? Click on the, I think. Do a quick, will you just refresh really quick? I think that it just hasn't, there should be like a little notification at the top that says to add your review.
Oh,
There
yeah.
it is. Yeah. Cool. So
Review changes.
beautiful. So now you can just hit review changes. I like your little JavaScript action there. Very nice. Cool. So now you just have to hit approve. Oh, I think you closed out of it. Go back to review changes.
Let's see.
And just hit approve. There you go. Okay, cool. And so now usually the owner or the project manager or whatever is going to be the one that actually like hits the trigger. So I'm just going to go ahead and do the merge. And let me really quick, I'm going to do mine. So I haven't actually done mine yet. So I'm going to do my main section. This is awesome. Tag with Lorem Ipsum. There we go. Okay, cool. So there's my main. Beautiful. Okay. So we've all got our things. Let me just add this here. Finished main content section. Do that guy. Oh shit, I did this from the main branch. My bad. Well, crap. I messed up.
Revert. How do you revert a commit?
And then, yeah. Okay, sweet. All right.
back to where we were. My bad. Check out to feature, and then we'll
So
call
git
this,
revert head just takes you back one step.
Yeah, it actually creates a new commit that is a reverse of the previous commit.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So yeah, if you look at the git log, it's now a yeah. So my bad. That happens. Okay, cool. So that looks good. Let me do my main section again. There's a okay, cool. Okay, let's add our changes. Cool. We'll go ahead and push this guy up. Origin feature content section. Okay, cool. Looks good up here. Awesome. I'm going to go ahead and do a pull request. Okay. So, okay, cool. So it requires reviews from you guys. I'm also the administrator, so I could, of course, just do it on my own. Just for time's sake, I'm going to just merge it. But so what I want to point out, though, is notice how I've got 3 pull requests. They've all been branched from the original main branch. But they all now, of course, have kind of diverged. They all look different now, which is, that's to be expected. So what we're going to do is we're going to merge one of these. Now it's kind of, again, when you're on a team, this is where communication is really important, because you've got to decide, like, okay, well, what are we going to merge first? So let's merge the header, and then we'll do the content section and the footer last, because we'll go top to bottom. So as a team, we decide, okay, let's merge this guy. Okay, so the first merge is going to go pretty smoothly, because this was because there's not going to be any conflicts. The history of the main branch and this one are the same. Okay, so we're going to hit merge, going to confirm, and that's going to look good. And we're going to delete the branch. Okay, cool. So if we go back to pull request, now that one is gone. And if we go to the code, notice how the main branch is now looks the way that the header branch did. Okay, and we can even see the latest commit was this merge from the feature header branch. Cool. Okay. Now, if we go back to the pull requests, and let's go to the content section. So this is the one that I did. And look at this. We now have an interesting problem.
Oh, no.
Where this branch has conflicts. Well, it's to be expected, given the fact that Danny's only had a header, where mine looks like this, where it only has this main. This is very common. It's a very common thing to happen. So to resolve these, you never really want to do it remotely. We're going to resolve this locally. And so the way you do this, and it depends on, some conflicts are worse than others. This one's going to be pretty simple. So here's a case where
quick question. In the real world, it's like you got some really long JavaScript file or something like that, and more than one person's kind of working on a function within that, and so that's kind of where this sort of conflict resolution comes into play.
Yep, exactly. So basically what is happening is that there are two or more changes, or sorry, there's one or more files that 2 different people have edited and are trying to merge into the same branch. And Git recognizes that they conflict with each other. Like, you can't have at the same time on line 10 2 different pieces of text, right?
Right.
So line 10 has to be unique. So to make line 10 unique, we have to resolve the two requests, right? So the way this works is very simple. So what I have to do is, because the main branch has now gone forward, it's been added to as the collaborator, what I need to do is I need to go to my main branch and get the latest changes. So notice how this looks the way that it did, because this is my local branch. And it tells you, your branch is ahead of such and such. Now mine screwed up because I just was an idiot and forgot to check out to a new branch. But okay, so I'm going to go ahead and git pull. And check it out. We now have we have the updated changes. Sweet, it's got the header, fantastic. And not only that, I've got the app.js file, beautiful. Cool. So what we're gonna do is, now that I've got the latest changes, I'm gonna check back out to my feature branch, okay, which is the, what did I call it? The content section, which of course has this guy. And okay, cool. And so now what I need to do is I need to resolve that conflict. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to merge. So again, this is really important. I'm not merging my branch into the main branch, or I'm not merging my feature branch into the main branch. I'm merging the main branch into the feature branch, because again, it's a loop. I need to update my feature branch so that I can push the feature branch changes up. Essentially what I'm doing is I'm going to merge the changes from the main branch onto my feature branch, resolve the conflicts, make it work again, and basically push those commits up, and those just become part of my pull request. Once you've created a pull request, you can still keep pushing commits. That's the whole purpose of a pull request, is that it's going to change over time, especially when conflicts happen. So this is all very common. And so what's nice about this is that, suppose you make a change on your feature branch, suppose you do your conflict in a way that actually kind of breaks what the other person was intending, or maybe you accidentally erase their work or something. That's certainly possible. And then you push it up. Well, then when you're reviewing the pull request, you can be like, oh, hey, I think you didn't resolve the conflict correctly. You're gonna have to go back and fix that. So it's like, oh, okay, cool. Okay, so we're good. I'm gonna go ahead and merge the main branch into this one, and we're gonna see this this thing again, which of course can look a little scary sometimes, but all it's asking is, hey, what unique things do you want on each line? So in this case, we want our main branch, of course, or we want our main content, of course. This is the current change, what I have now. Here's the one that's coming in. Now notice his indents are a little different.
Yeah, I'm a 4-tabber.
Yeah, he's a 4-tabber. It's like an insult. It's like,
I don't know why.
Scrub. What a 4-tabber. That's funny.
I think I have 4 tabs too.
I do too. Actually, no, I don't. Do I? I don't know.
No,
This
you
is just the
don't.
default. I don't know. I don't actually have a preference, to be honest with you. This is
You're a no-tabber.
I'm a no-tabber. Yeah, I don't use indents. I do minified. I'm a minifier.
Yeah.
No white space. That's what the pros do. So okay, so I've got to make a decision. I'm here, and I've got to make this file look, I've got to get it to a working state. So in this case, I'm gonna keep the indents the way that they were, just to, I don't know, illustrate a point. So here's my main branch. Okay, cool. We're gonna go ahead and put this right here. And I'm looking at this and it's like, all right, cool. Everything's good. I'm just gonna go ahead and because you can edit this directly, you can just kind of get rid of that and get rid of that. And there you go. So there's a thing. I'll reformat it. There we go. Look at that. Beautiful.
So that's cool. I didn't realize you can really just edit the page as you
Oh
want
yeah,
it to
absolutely.
sort of
It's
merge
just
together.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's just text. They're just changes to a file, and you just got to tell Git. Git just wants to know what the official history looks like.
Yep.
That's all that matters to Git. Git just doesn't want code to be forgotten or there to be like contradictions in the history. Okay, cool. So this looks fantastic. We can run it if we want and see what it looks like with the header. Beautiful. And our main content.
So you did this on the branch, so now you're gonna do another
Yep.
like pull request. For
So I'm
the
not
same
going to do
branch.
another pull request because the pull request is already exists. I don't need to create another one. I'm just
Okay.
going to be pushing my changes to that branch with which the pull request is like associated with.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's done on purpose because, that would suck to have to do like a new pull request every time there's a change to the branch, right? Okay, cool. So this is all good. I'm going to go ahead and stage these changes. And I'm going to, I've merged it. I've resolved the conflicts. Beautiful. We're good. I can now do my Git push. I can just do Git push and it'll automatically do that. Okay, beautiful. There we go. And if we go to our Git demo thing, okay, here's our pull request. And if you look at the feature content section,
Which was blocked before.
which is blocked, is now saying that it's blocked, but it's now blocked because it just needs more
Oh.
reviewers. That's all.
Better jump in there.
So I'm not sure who. So Danny, you approved it. So Genesis, it just needs your approval. While you're doing that, I'm going to use the bathroom. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. Okay,
green.
cool. So as you can see, everything's green. We can go ahead and merge it, confirm the merge. Beautiful. Okay, so we'll always want to delete the branch remotely. And then, it's always a good idea to delete it locally as well. So this has been pushed up. It's all good. We've resolved it. I'm going to check out to the main branch. And I'm going to go ahead and delete that branch that I did. And notice locally, this still doesn't look right. That's because I haven't pulled down the latest. The merge just occurred. So I want to make sure to update my local branch with the latest merge. And there it is. Awesome. So Genesis, you're the last one. Would you like to share your screen? And while we finish up this last resolution.
I just realized I was on mute this whole time.
Oh, no, you're good. I was like,
So
we were anticipating.
I know we've only been on Zoom forever. Okay, so so I thought you were doing the merging
So,
since you were the project owner. So I'm not sure.
so you won't be able to, so go to your pull request.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
To my footer.
Yep. And you'll notice that this branch has conflicts. So
Mm-hmm.
that,
Do I
so
resolve them?
anytime, yep. So anytime you see that, so no, you're not going to resolve conflicts there. You have to do it locally. So it's always the responsibility of the collaborator. It's always the owner of the pull request who is responsible for resolving the conflicts. So what you need to do is you need to go to your the main branch and pull down the latest changes. That's always the first thing you want to do whenever there's merge conflicts.
Okay, I want to. Is there like a way to move this like bottom menu? Do you guys know on Zoom?
Oh yeah.
It keeps getting
Are
in
you
the
on
way
a-
of my terminal.
I know. Are you on a Mac? No, you're on
I'm
a
on a
PC.
PC, yeah.
If you do Control Shift Alt H, it hides it.
Oh, great, awesome. Okay, that was an awesome little trick. Okay, Control Shift
Yeah.
Alt H.
Yeah,
Okay,
and then to
now I
make
can
and
see
then
the
and
bottom
then
of the terminal.
yeah, and then to make it come back, you just do the same thing.
Okay, cool. So, okay, so you said so from here. Do I just do a git pull?
Not a get pull, do a get
Oh,
checkout.
really did it.
Yeah, and it'll say
And I
already up to
check
date.
out the main branch.
Yep. Yep, and then just do a git pull. And you'll see, notice how it says your branch is behind by 9 commits.
Mhm.
That's because obviously we've been making some changes. And hey, there it is. Awesome.
Yeah.
So we just have to, of course, merge that with your feature branch. So check back out to your feature branch.
Feature. But didn't I delete that? I guess I didn't delete it.
No, you haven't deleted this one. Sweet. And now go ahead and do git merge main. This says, I want to merge the main branch into this one. Yep, and then you'll deal with this whole thing. And so the easiest thing to do is, just copy that div and like move it under the closing main tag. Beautiful.
And then I can just accept.
And then
or
just accept the, what is it?
Would it be the incoming change?
Incoming change, yeah. And there it is.
So then I would commit this.
Yep, so make sure to stage the changes first. So there's the plus button next to the merge changes. You could also do git add as well.
Merged.
Nice.
Sweet. So now if you go to GitHub, you'll see, and then go to that pull request. Now you'll see that, okay, we've approved it. There's no conflicts with the base branch. Beautiful. You can go ahead and merge it. No one's gonna arrest you.
Should it ask for us to re-review after the changes
mean,
been made, or
technically
is
it
that a
should.
setting?
I'm not sure if that's a setting or not. I know that in Bitbucket, which we use at work, I don't think it no, I don't remember. I honestly don't remember, but you're right. I don't think it should.
So now if I check out the main branch, now I can do another git pull, and the footer should be in there now, right?
Yep, and it's going to be there because you just added it in your main branch. So Yeah, there it is. Look at that.
Mhm.
Beautiful. And then you just want to make sure to delete your local branch and delete the remote branch as well.
Okay, so just.
So you guys are Git, Bitbucket, and Jira.
Yep.
So
do you have-
after you're
do
done
you-
with each branch, then you now that it's merged, then you delete them.
Yep.
So then that's all done.
Yeah, and then there's a
Cool.
button kind of down there called delete that says delete branch. There it
Oh
is.
yeah, because you delete it remotely. as
And
well.
there it is. And basically this process just keeps happening over and over again. So it's like, oh, you get a new assignment from the project manager, create a new branch, build your thing, submit your pull request, or push up your branch, submit the pull request, resolve merge conflicts, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's how it goes. So,
Sweet.
so yeah, that's pretty much how you do it. So I hope this is helpful. Does anybody have any questions?
I'd be curious about a quick rebase if if you ever have to deal with that. I don't know if that's there's time for that or not,
I've
but-
never really used rebasing. I honestly don't know enough about it to talk
Okay.
about it. I just have never done it. I've never been in a situation where it was like necessary, but I know that it's just a different way of merging. Like they both accomplish the same thing. They just do it a different way.
Cool.
I don't know enough about it to speak.
Yeah, then this was great. Thanks, Ben.
Yeah. Cool.
Fun
Thank
to
you so
fun to
much.
practice the collab process.
Yeah, for sure. So like I hope in the future, like when you're working on your own projects, that doing this kind of helps you focus on like doing specific things.
Yeah, this is the part that's tricky collaborating since you don't ever do that. Like
Right.
working on your own projects, which I don't ever use branches working on my own stuff. I just do
Yeah. So
everything
I hope
from
that
me.
now you do, because hopefully you see how nice it is to be able to like compartmentalize the different aspects of the app.
Yeah.
How granular do you make your branches? I mean, like, do you kind of like I mean, you're building a function. Seems like a good spot. Like adding a style, like
Yeah.
you know the like how kind of granular do you make that process?
That's a really good question. Let me show you a repository I did recently, and we can kind of look at the history. Let's see here. P machine. This is a app I made for my ex-girlfriend. Okay. If we look at the history, let's see here.
I think
What's
it's
the best way?
24 commits there. I think it's that 24.
Yeah, I'm trying to, I forget how to look at the,
I think it's that.
okay, here we go. Okay. So, but it doesn't show you the branching. I did branching on everything.
So it only shows you the branches that you currently have available, right? Not the ones you deleted.
No, because I deleted everything except for the develop
Guess
branch.
What you could go to all branches and look at deleted ones.
Oh, maybe. Oh, no, it doesn't show. Oh, stale maybe? No. Yeah, okay, so it doesn't show them even if they're deleted. Let's see here. What's a better way to view this?
I have to go, but thank you for the demo. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. No problem.
Well, yeah, no worries.
Anyway, so but to answer your question, I always decide kind of ahead of time, like what it is that I want to like accomplish next. So, and sometimes, the size is going to be a little different, but usually it's like, okay, like for this app, for example, for this app, it was like, okay, the first thing to do is I want to set up the project, right?
Mhm.
So if you look at this was like, creating all the files and stuff, initiating the Angular app or React app and stuff like that. Right. So like all of this crap, that was just the, wait, that was
Setup, config.
that's, oh, because I had been working on that for a while. Like I didn't make a remote repository until like way later, but I had been like doing commits on my own before I'd pushed it all up. Okay, that's why it's not showing. That's right. Okay, but anyways, yeah. So I do it. I basically just do it the way that I was kind of explaining today, where I have like a general. I have a pretty good idea of like what the next like bit of functionality is, or what the next like goal is, and that becomes my branch, and then I will, and then I will kind of break that down into like specific milestones. So like with, for example, building the,
So you kind of like, I guess in my current situation, it's like, we've got multiple pages that have different sort of components and functionality and state, I guess, or are using. And so do you kind of like say, okay, I want to create page B is a branch. And so you get like the structure, and that's kind of like the kind of a finished state for that, I guess, page, right? It doesn't have anything on it, but it's set up.
sure. Yeah.
And then you would branch from that branch to kind of like add a specific component or add sort of like wire up state.
Yeah, like if I have like I'll create branches off of other branches if I know that like that main, well, okay, so you've got your feature branch, and then there might be like little auxiliary satellite branches off of that. Like let's say let's say there's an about page or a contact page or something. That could be a branch, but then because that could actually be a fairly large set of changes, depending on how complex that page is, yeah, you might have like other little branches breaking off of it, that are kind of adding their own little sets of commits. Although like you can kind of think of it as a fractal in a way. And you just kind of scale the branch to what seems to make sense for whatever problem it is that you're trying to solve.
Got it. Cool.
Yeah, like there's not really like a part.
I guess like, it's kind of just tricky when you are collaborating with others. You're like, what should I work on versus what should you work on? And how do you sort of say like, okay, you do that page, but then there's like some kind of shared componentry or something like that. And you kind of are like, well, yeah, where does that live? Or sort of when do you do that?
Yeah. And that's where like communication is really key. Like you usually, you don't want, it's better to err on the side of a small branch than a big branch. So like, it's better to be like, all right, I know that I'm going to need a context, for example. So I'm going to make a context branch for this one particular thing. And that's going to be what my pull request comprises of. When you're building a project from scratch with other people, it's way better to like being too granular is way better than being way too broad.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. Well, thanks. Yeah. Thanks for the feedback.
Yeah, no problem. Hope that was helpful.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks again.
You are welcome. We'll check you later.
All right. Talk to you later.
All right. Peace out.